Good morning, brothers and sisters, and all my friends. This morning we are going to talk about India as the leader of 21st century, part 3. In this part 3, I'm going to talk about what makes the Indian youth so competent, so smart, and so innovative in software designing. Why India could produce the best software engineers in the world. And what really makes the Indian youth as the master of computer technology, the software designing. I would like to remind you that there are 3 major foundations, 3 major, the Samskaras, the upbringings, embedded very deeply in the Indian culture and civilization. And these cultural and civilizational strengths make the Indian youth the best software designers, the best software engineers, because they have that eye. And who gave that eye to them? These 3 fundamental cultural strengths and civilizational strengths. I would like to recall the number 1, which is very beautifully embedded in the wisdom tradition of ancient India. And in the divine song of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, "All the paths lead to me." You are free to follow any path, but all the paths come to me. And he talks about the family of God, the Vasudev Kutumbkam. What does that do to the mind of a child who is brought up in this environment of cultural and civilizational ecosystem? It gives to the mind of a child an expansion of the circle of compassion and a recognition and identification of relationships in a greater circle of compassion. When we go beyond the caste, creeds, nations and territorial imperatives and feel the whole humanity as one family of God, the Vasudev Kutumbkam. The second strength which comes from the philosophy in yoga, the science of yoga tells about the subtle body. We have gross body, material body, and then we have a layer of subtle body. And in the subtle body, in the field of subtle body, subtle consciousness, which is like the quantum world, and all the quantum fluctuations happen in this world. And where through the observation and through the application of the willpower, we choose our course of action. In other words, the wave function is collapsed by our active participation of our mind, and we create our own reality in the subtle world, which later on is translated into the material world. So this concept of subtle body also prepares the Indian child to accept the existence of the quantum world, the virtual world. And this is also very true and being proved by all the scientists, neuroscientists, saying that the human mind doesn't make any difference between the material reality and a virtual reality. And that is the reason, with the help of the mirror neurons, we could feel the pain of others exactly the same way like that person is feeling. Because we have that faculty. We have that depth of emotion. Because we could enter into the subtle world, which is non-local, which also has the non-local characteristics. Go beyond the material body. So we create the unity in diversity. And this subtle body phenomena helps the Indian youth, the Indian child, to look at the world beyond the material reality, gross reality. And it begins with the virtual reality, which is like looking at the whole scenario. Now there is another third one, which is the result of Vasudev Kutumbkam, the umbrella feeling, the bird's eye view. Because the mind of the Indian child is prepared for the bird's eye view, not the worm's eye view. All other children who are not taught this philosophy of family of God, the Vasudev Kutumbkam, and all the ways come to me, and the unity in diversity being practiced, makes the Indian youth ready for the greatest feat of software designers, the software designing, the software engineering. Because they could enter into the subtle world, the quantum world, and they could make things happen. So when they look at the flow chart of a process from a bird's eye view, you could see all what is happening, where the process is flowing from one section to another section, and then the goods are going from one point to another point, processed, going to the market, the whole flow chart of the process. And how could you see that? The best is that you look it from the bird's eye view. But if you are not prepared for the bird's eye view, if your mind is not prepared, then you look at different sections in a worm's eye view. And for that moment, your mind is locked into the worm's eye view. And this worm's eye view is a prison of your mind. You cannot see the different dimensions. You only look at one dimension of the phenomena. Your mind is not prepared for 10 dimensions. The 8 direction and up and down, the 10 dimensions. So your mind, the mind of the child who is not raised into this ecosystem of culture and civilization, where there is the feeling of Vasudev Kutumbkam, the unity in diversity, all the paths lead to me, as the Lord Krishna says, and the subtle body phenomena, the quantum world, the virtual reality, as good as the material reality. These cultural strengths and the civilizational strengths make the Indian child ready for the job. So an Indian child has those eyes of observer, because all what happens all around us is the way we look at the world. What's the quality of our looking at the world? The eye of the observer. And as it says in the wisdom tradition of ancient India, Jaisi Drishti, Vaisi Srishti. The kind of the eye you have, so is your creation. So is the world around you. Jaisi Drishti, Vaisi Srishti. Drishti is the sight, eyesight, the eye. And Srishti is the creation. Jaisi Drishti, Vaisi Srishti. So the kind of the eye you have, so is your creation. So is the world around you. The world of creation, the world of material world around you. So that eye of observer, to cultivate that eye, you need the cultural strength and civilizational help. When you raise the child in the ecosystem of universal love and compassion and universal empathy and goodwill towards everyone. And I would like to recall the great saint, the great Italian saint, Father Francis, who expanded his heart so infinitely. His circle of compassion included all the birds as the sisters, the moon, the sky, the stars, the sun, as his own family, brothers and sisters. And so is the Indian culture and civilization, where we feel we have relationship with the mountain, we have relationship with the rivers, we have personal family relationship with the trees, with the birds, with all the sentient beings. Isn't that a wonderful gift to a human child? To look at the world as the family of God, as the Vasudev Kutumbkam. And that is what makes the Indian child ready for the great job of software designing, for the bird's eye view, to be very happily looking at the flow chart without any restrictions of, like a frog in a well, the great story about the frog in the well, who used to claim, like a grandpa used to claim, that the sky is just like a coin, only as big as the coin, or a dime, or a dollar. But one day, he discovered the sky is not just as big as a dime or a dollar. Sky is very big. Because the poor frog had a worm's eye view. So he was locked in that consciousness of worm's eye view. When you get the great start and the great beginning with the help of the culture and civilization, having the bird's eye view, which includes everybody, in your circle of compassion, makes the Indian youth the great software designers, the great software engineers. And believe me, now the time has come for the living matter exposition. The science of living matter, the science of dead matter is over. And all the machines and all the gadgets and everything will be moving with the Indian mind. This will be the Indian mind. the mind of the Indian software engineer to move the world. All the machines, all the gadgets, all the space explorations, all the earth explorations, all the science and technology, all the frontier science, every move, every step will be provided by the Indian mind. So the Indian mind will run the planet in 21st century. The essence of our talk of this morning is that India is the natural leader of 21st century. And my dear friends, the great Indian youth is coming to run the whole planet. And we will create an ecosystem of universal peace, progress and prosperity for all. As we have already done, we are doing it now, that we are going to send a satellite in this space, that we could give it like a gift to the South Asian countries, as a gift of India. No one thinks like that. No other mind can think like that, because everyone will think how much money I can make out of this satellite. But only India could think like that, to have that circle of compassion, to give technology gifts without any strings attached. Free gift as the universal goodwill and universal empathy, that if we grow, our neighbors also grow. My dear friends, so the Indian youth is going to take the high seat of 21st century leadership. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for your patience. And have a great, great day, my dear friends and my brothers and sisters.